Welcome to the weekly shir, the Zera Shimshon. And if there's any good stories, and it's helping anybody in any way, please put the comment down underneath the post. Okay, so this week is the Zion Mar Cheshvan and Tafshin Pei Gimel, and it's Erev Shabbos. So I'm going to do this quickly. So there's a very interesting piece. I gotta tell you, I enjoyed this. So it says, the title of this in Rabbi Nachman Seltzer's book is, "Why was Lot's wife so anti-salt?" And she wasn't from the American Medical Association. Okay, needless to say. So he says, he quotes the pasuk, "Tabet ishtoi me'achro v'tehi netziv melech." Famous quote. His wife peered from behind him. She looked back at the destruction of Sodom and Vayeira, and she became a pillar of salt. Why salt, of all things? She could have turned into rock, or turned into a frog or something. Who knows? Anyway, Rashi, based on the Midrash, Beishis Rabbah, points out that Lot's wife sinned with salt, and therefore, mida keneged mida, she was punished with salt. Lot said to his wife, "Please give me a little salt for the guests." Okay. So she answered, "I cannot believe you want to bring that terrible tradition into our home, even here in Sodom." What terrible tradition? What? On the surface, it seems that Lot's wife was referring to minhag ha'achnasis orchim, like they learned by Avram Avinu, which Lot wanted to do for the three angels. But if that was the case, and his wife was protesting the fact that Lot wanted to bring guests into their home, why didn't she wait until he asked for salt? Why didn't she protest the moment he asked her to set the table and prepare food for the guests? What was it about salt that especially irritated her? Salt irritates the wounds, right? Zera Shimshon quotes the Lavush to explain. Lavush tells us in Shulchan Aruch Rabbi Chaim 167.5, in case you want to look it up, in the name of the Midrash, that when a person brings salt to the table, it helps transform the table into a mizbeach. It's a Meforshei Gemara, an altar of forgiveness, and the salt protects the people at the table from disaster or catastrophe. Salt was added to all the offerings brought on the altar. Therefore, when there is salt on the table, just compare it to the altar, the table, right? It protects against punishment, as did the offerings on the altar. Furthermore, when Jewish people are seated at a table, waiting for one another to finish washing their hands for bread, the Satan denounces them before Hashem on account of the fact that they are not doing any mitzvahs right that then, since they are prohibited from speaking. At moments like those, the salt on the table atones for them. The Gemara in Sanhedrin 109a tells us that the people of Sodom were corrupted because of the incredible bounty of good they had received from heaven. They were unafraid of the court system, and they were not afraid of mazikim, those who cause harm. Having begun to look at the world like people around her, Lot's wife asked her husband, "Why do you feel the need to place salt on the table? Nobody worries about these kinds of things here in Sodom. The moment you place the salt on the table, you're showing that you take these minhagim seriously. By acting like this, you are actually granting the Satan access to our home. And it's never a wise move to bring the Satan into your life." Well, but Lot took the angels seriously, and he knew that they were about to destroy the city. He asked his wife for salt to protect his family against the upcoming dangers. This conceivably explains why the citizens of Sodom were punished, that their entire city was destroyed by salt and sulfur. And they were so sure of their ability to protect themselves to the point that they felt that no need to put salt on their tables, that they were punished with sulfur and salt, measure for measure. So says the Zera Shimshon, mida keneged mida. And it says, pasuk by Al kor korbancha takriv melach, pasuk in the Torah. And the Gemara says, on all of your sacrifices, you should bring salt. So it means it's literally in the Beis HaMikdash, but also the Gemara brings it down, referring to having salt on the table before you make hamotzi. Okay, one of the things, the Segula says, one of the things so unique about Yidden is their interest in learning more about every new mitzvah and Inyan that comes their way. Okay, so consider this. My name is Rafi Lerner, fake name. I read about the Zera Shimshon in a story written by Reb Nachman Seltzer. The story piqued my interest and I wanted to buy the Sefer and learn it on a regular basis. I contacted you to ask if I could come over to your house and buy a copy. Now he was coming over to Benjamin Pashka's house. You advised me to contact your children in Lakewood and pick up a copy from them. Okay, the moment I purchased the Sefer, I began learning from it in a serious way, as I would in any other chashuva Sefer that I bought. Of course, with the Zera Shimshon, there was the added benefit of the beautiful introduction and the words that were written by the Mechaber himself at the beginning of the Sefer. I had been learning that Zera Shimshon for a week when I decided to summon my courage to ask my boss for a raise. This wasn't the first time I had asked him for a raise. Every time I did, my boss explained to me that it wasn't a good time and that as much as he valued my dedication to the job and the good atmosphere and the work ethic that I brought to the company, they were still unable to increase my salary. This happened over and over for a number of years. I'd ask, and they'd turn me down. It reached the point where I didn't feel at all comfortable making the same request again. Yet now that I was learning from the Zera Shimshon, I decided it was a perfect time to try again. Instead of knocking on my boss's door, I sat down at my desk and drafted a respectful letter in which I laid out exactly why I felt the time had finally come for them to give me a raise I had been requesting for so long. Dear sir, and here's the whole letter. Having been a loyal employee in the firm for some time, I feel my presence brought benefits, etc., etc. I'm not gonna read the whole letter. It doesn't matter. So please consider my request and help me remain with the company so that we may benefit one another for many years to come. Sincerely, Rafi Lerner. I know that what I'm about to tell you sounds like one of those stories, right? But what can I do if that's what happened? Immediately after receiving my letter, my boss called me into his office. Rafi, I read your letter and have to tell you that you are 100% correct. You have been here for quite a while, and there's no question you have benefited the firm in countless ways. I'm giving you an immediate bonus of a few $1,000, and I'll be raising your salary as well. As I returned to my desk, heart swelling with thanks to the Rebbeinu Shalom, I couldn't help but recall the Sefer at the side of my desk, the Sefer that I'd begun learning barely a week earlier. And the words of Rabbi Shimshon Nachmani wrote, a house filled with everything good, wealth, and honor. No question in my mind that there was a connection between what happened in my workplace and my newest Sefer on my shelf. A few weeks passed and I decided I wanted to surprise my father and purchase a copy of Zera Shimshon for him as well. I told my father everything that had happened in the office and how I suddenly had been on the receiving end of a raise after many years. It might be a good idea for you to learn the Zera Shimshon with Shani in mind. My father began learning the Sefer that week. What can I say? A few days later, 3 Shadchanim called the house with ideas for my sister after months of silence. Rabbi Binyamin, there's no question in my mind, Klal Yisrael must be told about the Sefer and Yeshuas that people are witnessing on a daily basis after learning the holy words. Everybody have a wonderful Shabbos, a gesunden Shabbos, and a gitten Winter. Kol Tov.